Have you ever driven past one of those massive military bases and just wondered, what is actually going on in there? It's like its own secret world, a huge puzzle of different numbers and names. Well, today, we're going to solve that puzzle. We're taking a deep dive into Hill Air Force Base in Utah. And I promise, by the end of this, you'll see exactly how all those pieces fit together. So you're driving by and you see signs for the 388th Fighter Wing, then the 419th, and also the 75th Air Base Wing. So who's in charge? Are they all the same thing? It just looks like a confusing mess, right? But stick with me, because there is an elegant logic to all of this, and it's going to make perfect sense. So, what's the secret to unlocking this whole thing? It's actually surprisingly simple. I want you to just forget everything you think you know about a military base for a second. Instead, just picture Hill Air Force Base as a fully functioning city. That one little mental shift, it changes everything. Okay, so if the base is a city, every city needs a government, right? It needs someone to run the place. At Hill, that's the 75th Air Base Wing. You can just think of them as the landlord for the entire operation. Now, the Air Force has its own lingo for this, host and tenant. The host wing is the landlord. They're responsible for literally everything: the roads, the buildings, the power, the whole shebang. And the tenant units? They're the renters. They live there, they work there, but they don't have to worry about managing all that infrastructure. At Hill, the 75th is the host. They own the place. And this is where that city analogy really clicks. The 75th provides all the services you'd expect. The Security Forces Squadron, that's your police department. The medical group, that's the hospital and the clinics. The civil engineering group is like a massive public works department taking care of over 1,700 facilities. They're the solid foundation that lets everyone else do their job. So, if the 75th is the city government, who are the tenants? Well, they are the high-tech businesses that are renting space in our city. And in this case, those businesses are the 388th and 419th Fighter Wings. Their job isn't to run the base. Their job is to fly and fight. Now, both of these wings fly the incredible F-35, but they have really distinct identities. The 388th is the full-time active duty force, the tip of the spear. The 419th is the Air Force Reserve Wing. These are citizen airmen, a lot of whom are airline pilots or engineers in their civilian life, and they often bring decades of prior active duty experience to the fight. Okay, this slide right here is where it all comes together. Look at that bottom row, reports to. The 388th fighter pilots, they work for Air Combat Command. The 419th reservists, they work for Air Force Reserve Command. And the 75th, the landwards, they work for Air Force Material Command. This is the whole secret. They are three totally separate, co-equal wings with different bosses, all working together in the same city. So, we get the city concept now, but let's zoom in a little. Let's look inside one of those businesses, a fighter wing, and see how they're put together. Turns out, the Air Force uses a really clear and consistent blueprint for this. It all breaks down into a really simple hierarchy. You've got the wing at the top. The wing is then broken down into functional groups. You'll have an operations group for the flyers and a maintenance group for the fixers. And then those groups are made up of squadrons. The squadron is the fundamental unit. That's where the real day-to-day work gets done. So a wing is usually led by a colonel, and it has everything it needs to do its main job. A group, also run by a colonel, manages a specific function, like all the maintenance. And the squadron, led by a lieutenant colonel, is where the rubber meets the road. It's that simple. Wing, group, squadron. It's a system that just flat out works. Let's make this real. Using the 388th as our example, the wing is split into groups. The operations group owns the pilots and the flying squadrons, like the famous Black Widows. Then you have the maintenance group, with all the technicians who keep those 78 F-35s in perfect fighting shape. It's a perfect division of labor, and that level of expertise you get at the group level, well, it leads to some truly incredible innovation. So what does that expertise actually look like? Well, it looks like this. A few years back, they had two badly damaged jets. So what did they do? They took the front half of one wrecked F-35 and the back half of another, and they literally bolted them together to create a brand new, fully mission-capable fighter. No joke. And what was the result of this wild feat of engineering? Well, it saved the American taxpayer $63 million. That's the price of a brand new F-35, completely saved by the sheer skill and ingenuity of one maintenance squadron. They nicknamed it the Frankenjet, and it's just the perfect story to show the world-class expertise you find down at the squadron level. This wasn't some project dreamed up in a boardroom at the Pentagon. This was airmen on the flight line, solving a crazy complex problem and putting a critical warfighting machine back in the air. But here's the thing. The 388th isn't doing all this alone. Their neighbors, the 419th Fighter Wing, are right there with them, fully integrated partners. And this relationship, it's one of the Air Force's secret weapons. The official name for this is Total Force Integration, and the specific model they use at Hill is called a Classic Association. Now that sounds complicated, but it's really not. All it means is that active duty 388th Wing owns the airplanes, and the reservists from the 419th provide pilots and mechanics who fly and fix those exact same jets shoulder to shoulder every single day. And this creates a relationship that's just genius. It's truly symbiotic. The active duty side brings the fleet of jets and that forward-leaning, ready-to-go-tonight combat edge. But because active duty folks move every few years, the reserve component provides incredible stability and deep long-term experience. A reservist might work on the exact same F-35 for 15 years, becoming a true master of their craft. It is literally the best of both worlds. All right, so let's pull all these threads together. When you look at Hill Air Force Base now, you're not seeing a jumble of confusing numbers anymore. You're seeing a carefully designed, highly efficient ecosystem built for one single purpose: generating American air power. Host and tenant, active and reserve. That's it. Those are the four pillars holding up the whole thing. And once you get those concepts, the whole system just clicks into place. It's not confusing at all. It's a model of incredible specialization and power. So what's the big takeaway here? Why does this all matter? Well, this model is unbelievably effective. By having the 75th Wing run the city, the fighter wings get to focus 100% on their combat mission with zero distractions. And by seamlessly integrating active and reserve forces, the Air Force gets the maximum amount of combat power and experience for every dollar spent. This structure is exactly what makes a place like Hill Air Force Base so absolutely vital to our national security. And that kind of leaves us with one last big question. This model of hosts, tenants, and total force integration has proven itself over and over again. But as the nature of war and global challenges continues to change, how will this intricate ecosystem need to adapt and evolve to make sure it can meet the threats of tomorrow? That is the question that planners are wrestling with right now.